Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to 2026 edition, episode 2 of the Draft Dodgers podcast. I am your friend Dom C, here, the host of the podcast, and I got some very special guests today, and we're going to not talk about quarterbacks, which is the most exciting thing that I have said in quite a couple months, and I think my co-hosts here today will say the same thing, but before I bring them on, please, if you haven't done so, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, do all that stuff on the back end so that YouTube algorithm kind of likes this video and more of my content gets thrown out to the masses. I would appreciate it. Hit the follow along. We do draft content, pretty much 24/7, 365 from now, right through until minicamp starts in the summer, and then we'll start getting into some summer scouting. So this is your one-stop shop for all of your draft content. And today, I got some friends. I got some special guests. We're going to talk a little bit about the wide receiver class. I think it's personally, comparatively, I know it gets a lot of hype as it's a very good, very deep class. I think it's good. I like the talent at the top. I think it thins out pretty quickly for my liking, but I can honestly say that about most of the positional groups in this draft class as a whole. We're still waiting on some people to decide if they're going to declare for the draft or if they're going to go back. But I digress. We're going to talk about some wide receivers. We're going to talk about some of the guys who have already committed to some of the bowl games, and we'll probably drop a couple of those little sleepers, some of those names that maybe you haven't really followed up on or watched film on yet that maybe you might want to. But before we talk about all this stuff, let me go ahead and introduce my co-hosts here today. First, you know him. If you're on Twitter, if you're around, if you do anything in the NFL draft content world, I'm sure you've communicated one way or another or had conversations with the one, the only, on X, at Draft Vogel, Mr. John Vogel. How are you, John?
Appreciate it, Dom. Thank you. I'm good. Glad to be here.
Good. And bringing on also at Sparks Scouting on X, Mr. Bill Sparks, NFL draft analyst for, what is it, TWSN, if I'm not mistaken. Right, Bill?
That is correct. TWSN, the Wrightway Sports Network. Thanks for having me on, Dom. Appreciate it.
Oh, man. Like I said, I'm trying to juggle around and get a bunch of stuff recorded and have these conversations that where guys, we can get in the weeds a little bit. I've just been so busy. So I feel like my whole process has been kind of delayed a little bit. So I feel like I got to get everyone here and do this. And listen, I know there's still 4 months, plus until the draft, and there's still so much that's going to happen. But, for somebody who's, a little bit anal in regards to attention to detail and stuff like that, I feel like I'm behind the game. So I appreciate you guys coming on my show and helping me out and talking about some receivers here. You heard my little diatribe about the class. Like, I think it's pretty, I like it at the top. I don't think it's as deep as everyone says, John. I'd love your opinion, just in a high-level general sense about the class as a whole.
Yeah, I think if you compare it to other classes at the top, these are probably not going to be the impact guys that you're expecting. Yeah. I think that they'll go at the top, and that's just because of the way that the positional value is kind of shaking in this class. But I don't think that you're going to see the next Jackson Smith and Jigba in this class. I don't think you're going to see anything crazy like that. But there's going to be some suitable options. I think you'll have suitable options that could probably put a little bit of a, be able to step in and make an impact probably into the 3rd round. And then once you get after that, there's a lot of project development. Let's see what these guys, can we find a role for them? It's going to be all about fit. But there'll be a couple guys I think that you'll see pop out when they get to the right spots. So I think that's a good assessment that you got. That being said, there are fun guys in this class.
Which we're going to talk about a bunch of them. But before we do that, Bill, give us your thoughts. What do you think about this wide receiver class? And even more so, Bill, take it one step further. Like I said, I'm not saying you should agree or disagree with me. But like overall, I'm the class so far we haven't got all the commitments so far, but there's a couple nice pieces at the top, but man, it kind of thins out pretty quickly all over, not just at the wide receiver. What say you?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think, and even the pieces at the top, there's question marks at each one of them, whether it's size or whether it's health or whether it's even just general fit into an offense. So while there's nice pieces at the top, like John said, this isn't the wide receiver class that you want to necessarily write home about. But there's guys up and down the roster. My top 100, I have 16 guys in that top 100 at wide receiver, and I think of those 16, all of them could play some sort of role. But if you're looking for a true wide receiver one, you're going to be hard pressed to find one in this class that doesn't have some sort of blemish somewhere, whether it's injury, whether it's size, whether it's just general fit, whether it's speed, something like that. But I think if you're a team that needs a wide receiver, you can find at least one early and one late. This could be the same conversation we had last year with the running back class in terms of being willing to take multiple guys in this class and get something out of them.
Yeah. So interesting. Over the past couple of years, we've had the wide receiver draft class. Maybe they're a little bit more shallow, such as this 2026 class. But you've had that one guy or one or two guys that have come out in their rookie year and just balled out and popped off. A couple of years ago it was BTJ. Was amongst one of many guys who kind of balled off. We had Emeka Ibuka early in this past draft class who came off. He's kind of settled down, and Tet McMillan has kind of stepped up amongst some others. If you had to put your finger on it, John, who's the one guy? Doesn't matter, first rounder, late rounder. Who's the one guy that you think is the most pro ready that's going to be able to come in and affect an NFL game, right from the jump? Obviously, it depends where he gets drafted. That whole thing. But you had to bet your allowance on one guy that come in and transition pretty smoothly and make his mark right away. Who is it?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a guy that hasn't declared officially yet. He's got a playoff game coming up, and he's expected to declare. But I think Zachariah Branch fits that perfectly.
Yeah,
USC transfer to Georgia. And he's a slot receiver. He's undersized. He's going to be right in there in that 5'9", probably not even 5'10" range. Probably come in. I would expect him about a 180 at tops. But you want to talk about absolute explosive ability, speed, really crisp route running ability underneath, can stretch the field with his speed, and the immediate impact that he's going to bring on special teams as a returner, both as a kick and punt returner. That's somebody that fills a lot of roles right away. You could put into a gadget role. You could probably even play him out of the backfield, line him up at running back, put him up. You can spread this guy all over the place. And while he's not my top receiver, because, your smaller slots, you're kind of becoming more hard pressed to find a good role for him in an offense in the NFL, at least a consistent one. He's not going to be the first wide receiver off the board. Mm-hmm. But he would be a guy that I'd be willing to take a bet on if 2-3 guys come off the top 20 or so, top 15, however that ends up falling. And I'm sitting there as a borderline playoff team. Maybe I am a playoff team going, hey, we could use another weapon, really take this offense to another step and shore up our special teams. We've seen the impact special teams has had this year with the kickoffs and the punt returns. That'd be a guy I'd absolutely pound the table for and say, this is a guy that he's going to not just boost our special teams, but he can bring that ability and that versatility to our wide receiver room.
Yeah. So, spoiler, he falls in your top 5, doesn't he, Zachariah?
Mm-hmm. He does. Yeah. Yes, he does.
He's right, and this is why I love having a bunch of different guys that have different views on it, because he's out of my top 10. He's number 11 for me. But I agree with you. I think for me, when I watch the overall aspect of his game and the way he moves, like, I think he can affect the game right away. I don't know how much is going to be on offense, and it's probably his effect's probably going to be through the special teams, which is fine. because he's getting on the field, so on and so forth. So yeah, the size is definitely something that's a little wary. I would love to see where he's going to really measure out, if he's 5'10", if he's 5'10", or what they say he is, or if he's going to be a little bit smaller. But that that twitchiness that he does play with, man. Oh, Zachariah Branch. What about you, Bill? Who's the guy that you think is going to come in and step on throats right away?
Yeah, it's kind of cheap just because we've seen it happen time and time again with Ohio State wide receivers. But Carnell Tate is a guy that I think is just going to have the ability to just translate to the league effectively. Doesn't have that size conversation, 6'3", 195, so probably a little bit light for the receiver spot. But I think if you can add 5-10 pounds, it's not an issue. But you just watch him run routes as just a technician. He can just sink his hips and just cut with the best of them. And then his body control on off-platform throws and off-target throws, he's going to be a quarterback's best friend, especially a young quarterback that's still developing, still learning ball placement. And then the big thing is he doesn't drop the ball. That's the biggest thing. You look at this year, PFF has him charted with a 0% drop rate among wide receivers with 50 targets. He just doesn't. If it's thrown his way, he's catching it. And if you're a team that has a young quarterback, whether it's you draft a rookie quarterback and then you take him with your second selection, like in Cleveland, or it's a team that has a young quarterback, say they took a rookie last year in like Tennessee with Cam Ward, this is the guy that you would pair and say, hey, we're going to give you this new toy. He doesn't drop passes. He contorts his body to get those passes and make life easier for those types of quarterbacks.
Yeah. Ohio State receivers are come in game ready. So yeah. I get that. And I know myself and I know John, I might as well just spill the beans here. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops. That's the wrong one. And let's get this up. And Adam, see if I can make this a little bigger. Boom. There we go, guys. Can you see that? Everyone can see that a little bit. Yeah, it's not the biggest thing in the world, but it'll work. John and myself both have Carnell Tate as our number one receivers. Bill, you have him down at number 4, which is a little interesting. So a lot of the same names. There's a couple different ones. Bill led us off with Carnell. John, is he a pure X? Is he a stretch? Is he a vertical X? Like I said, I think the Ohio State guys come out full route tree, ready to go. I think most of them are versatile. I don't know if he has quite the the speed or the that athletic kind of twitchy upside that, like, say Garrett and Jackson Smith and Jigba had coming out. Probably more along the Emeka Buka, who surprised me so far in the pros as well. So what else can you add on Carnell Tate?
I think he's a smooth athlete. Bill touched on the way that he gets through his breaks. He's got really very strong route running ability. At that size, I think he's probably going to be very close to 6'3". He might be a touch under. And the 195 is a little bit, like he said, is a little concerning. I think the one thing that I question is, he does create separation down the field. So speed is not too much of a problem, especially in that Texas game. His ability to catch the contact, shield to catch point is something that stood out, from the get-go. He's works the sideline incredibly well. The body control that Bill touched on. He gets 2 feet down inconsistently. Those are all great things. But one of the things that you do notice is he can be a little bit of a body catcher at times, especially when he's facing the football. He lets the football come into his body and traps it rather than extending to it. And I think his hand strength might be a little bit average.
Yeah, it's funny, and I don't want to cut you off, but why you say that, I mean, that's my biggest pet peeve with Garrett Wilson right now. Obviously, I see Garrett play a lot, and he will he just doesn't extend his hands. He'll jump, or he'll leave his feet and try to catch it, up in the breadbasket like this. And I can't tell you how many countless balls you've seen bounce off of the shoulder pads and elsewhere instead of him going out and plucking them. So it's interesting you brought that up. I just, the Ohio State connection, I just figured I'd throw it out. So continue.
Yeah, no, and it's inconsistent. Sometimes he'll stretch out, sometimes he lets that thing come in. But that's what kind of leads me to think that you see sometimes he'll bobble the ball at the catch point. So I don't think his hands are necessarily very strong. outside of that, the only real other weakness that I could chip him for is, okay, well, he's not a dynamic guy after the catch. He's going to be physical. He's going to get north-south as quickly as he can, but he's not going to throw 3 juke moves and 2 spins and leap over a defender in the secondary. Like, that's not his style.
Yeah.
He's going to be very physical with you. So a little bit more of a true X.
Yeah, and that's what I think as well. I think, where again, the guys who have, have come from Ohio State previous have been much more versatile. Like, I thought Emeka was going to be just slot specific. And he's shown that he can play a little bit of Z, can play a little outside. Garrett does everything. Jackson Smith and Jigba might arguably be, one of the top 3 receivers in the league. He's really, really developed his game where people were questioned his speed and so on and so forth. Sometimes you just got to let guys play football players play football, right? But I look at Carnell Tate, and although he graded out as the highest receiver for me, I don't know if he has the versatility that some of his predecessors, his Ohio State predecessors have. I don't even know if he has the same versatility that some of the guys in this class might have, Jordan Tyson being one of them. I think that he's going to be your stretch, your X, your boundary guy. He'll be able to beat some guys vertical. Route tree is not a problem. I think he does a good job of setting up and lulling the defenders to sleep a little bit, before he makes his breaks. He's going to be a good, reliable guy. Is he ever going to be 110 catches for 1,700 yards? I don't know. That I don't know, but I think he can. I think he could help an offense at least come in and be a steady option B for an offense right from the get-go.
You're looking at like a low end X right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Like in that 25 to 32 range, if you had to say every team's got one, that's where he's coming in at.
Yeah,
and you're going to betting on him performing
and developing,
continuing to develop as part of that. So, I thought he came into the year as a day 2 guy. I think he's played himself up solidly as a day 1. And I'm pretty sure he's going to go first round.
I'm almost ready to say, unless Jordan Tyson, comes in and somehow, wows people with his testing, if he runs at all with, the injury stuff that he's dealing with. I'm almost ready to say it's pretty much, I pretty much feel pretty comfortable locking in Carnell Tate as the first receiver taken off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think you can make an argument for a handful of guys, right? I think that's fair to say, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's the first receiver off the board. So, while me and John did have Carnell Tate as our first receiver, Bill, I'll let you talk a little bit about the NC State transfer, KC Concepcion.
Yeah, so the big thing with KC Concepcion is this is a guy, and John talked about it a little bit when he talked about Zachariah Branch, just a nightmare after the catch. He just has a slippery quality where he just makes defenders miss in space. Shows a really good IQ by finding soft spots in zone coverage. And just, when he's working over the middle of the field, you just see this natural tempo to his game. He can speed up, slow down, in and out of breaks very easy, and bring special teams value and special teams versatility, especially on punt returns. The concerns is that, he's undersized, estimated 5'11", 187, but it's probably going to be a little bit less than that. And he's got some drop issues. This is a guy who this season has a 9.5 drop rate per PFF. So he's got some drop issues. It's not the end of the world. Those are the types of things that's mostly just focus and concentration based. So I think if he lands in the right spot, this is a guy who can coach himself out of it. But if you need a weapon that you can use in gadget roles, or a weapon that you can use in the slot, a quick bubble screen, quick tunnel screen, or even just on punt returns as well, this is the guy for you, even despite not having that, super blazing long speed. This is probably a 4.4, 4.45 type of speed, but it's the horizontal speed that NFL teams are searching for.
Yeah, so he made my top 5. He's number 5. Now, full disclosure, I did move him up ahead. I moved a couple guys up ahead of Chris Bell now, dealing with the injury.
Mm-hmm.
I people say what you want about that. Like you're scouting the film. The grade is the film. But, for lack of better, I don't know when the next time we're going to see Chris Bell, knowing that he just did that, this late in the season. So his rookie year might be a wash. So I did bump him down, but he was right in that same realm with Concepcion. And, you think of, I think of Josh Downs in Indianapolis and that instant kind of, and those whip routes that Josh Downs ran at UNC and that he runs like effortlessly here. I can see Concepcion coming into an NFL game, an NFL team, and really mastering that kind of instant, quick, twitchy, separating kind of routes. Again, you said he's going to be about 4.4. I'm not sure. I mean, it's hard to see. I don't know if he's got that game-breaking speed. I think he'll need to be in the low 4.4s if he's going to go. If he's really going to go in the top 20 to 30 picks, just because those slot-specific guys, I think, usually tend to fall a little bit. But I want to see Concepcion, be able to, win out on those slot fades and stuff like that, where, he's had glimpses of it in college. But, he hasn't done it at a consistent level. But man, you talk about jitterbug, instant jitterbug. I love the movement skills on Casey Concepcion, and Bill, kudos to you. You've had him, since summer as your number one receiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. He's just like a human joystick, right? It's just fun to watch him in the open field, just like we used to watch the old Dante Hall clips back in the day. It's kind of along that same lines of just watching people miss. But I'm with you. I think the speed is a concern, and it's going to be a perfect fit situation. He's not going to be everybody's cup of tea in that top 10, top 15 range.
Yeah. Interesting one for you, John, at number 2 with Denzel Boston.
Yeah.
I happen to be a little bit lower on him, so I'm going to shut up and I'm going to listen to you, and you sell me on Denzel, because there's a lot of his game that I thought that I wanted to like, and I'll let you explain, and then I'll tell you some of the stuff that my eyes are seeing and who I'm kind of lining him up with, which just put a bad taste in my mouth. So tell me about Denzel Boston. Why is number 2 for you?
Yeah, I like the 6'3", 210 frame. He's expected to come in a little above 6'3". I thought he was a good natural athlete. He worked the sideline well. He's effective in all different areas of the field. So being able to complete the deep ball, work the intermediate routes, work those in-cutting, and back-breaking routes, and then also being able to work underneath. That's a unique, complete skill set. I thought he catches the ball well through contact. I thought he was a good route runner. And he's another one of these guys like Carnell, who isn't going to wow you with his run after the catch ability, but he's going to be physical and he's going to field as quickly as he can. I did think that he will struggle to fight. He struggles to contest at the catch point at times, especially against more physical corners. That's probably why I sat here and I was debating it. I'm like, do I want Carnell up there? Because I really like Denzel Boston. I'm probably a little bit higher than most analysts are on him. I think he's going to be a very good player in the next level.
Yeah.
But when I was kind of looking at that, it's like, no, Tate wins those contested ball situations a lot better. But again, you're looking at a very similar to Carnell in a lot of different ways. Maybe a little bit more complete with the route running, where Tate is going to excel is really with the deep ball and the contested catch situations. Denzel's not going to necessarily do that as well. And he's going to be right there in that low end, I think, X1 receiver.
Yeah. So with me, I
he makes you think of Keon Coleman, doesn't he?
It's funny. There's that. It's like sluggish first step. Like I just worry about how he's going to separate. I honestly, God, I don't know how he's going to separate against tough press man. He's a little bit slow with that step, and then you tie in, like you said, and I was going to say Keon Coleman, but I think it's a fair assessment. Like, what's the one thing that you knew Keon Coleman was coming in from Florida State? Athletic as hell, was going to win those 50-50s, if nothing more. and you hope that he would be able to, develop enough to separate, to run those, the simpler routes that they were going to ask him to run, right? Because I remember having a lot of the same questions about Drake London. Drake London was able to do it.
Yeah.
Keon hasn't been able to. So this is where I sit with Denzel Boston. Is like, all right, I'm on that path of the big guys that really don't have to me, I don't see the footwork. I don't see, I see a little bit of sluggish release. I don't know if they're going to have that oomph to really separate and be effective at the next level. Then you tie in the fact that, at 6'4", you can't even bank on Denzel Boston to be a true 50-50 or a true red zone guy. But he does things a little bit more, he's much more athletic. I don't want to say he's bad, listen, he can run routes. I don't think he's sharp in and out of them, as sharp as he can be. Like, stuff gets a little rounded, but again, he's a big guy. I wish he would use his body even more, to, at the catch point and so on and so forth. He's fine with the ball in his hands and through the catch. And even a little bit of the movement after, with the ball in his hands after the catch. But I just worry about, is he going to be able to do enough to get the ball in his hands in the NFL? That's my take on Denzel.
That's where I think I like him.
Yeah.
Is, he can run those timing anticipation routes, those back-breaking ones fairly well. He can get to the spot.
Yeah.
And that's the important thing. Like, you could say, oh, the footwork's not great, but is he getting to the spot? Is he getting to the place where the quarterback's throwing the ball? And that's one thing, Demon Williams, we're going to have a lot of fun watching next year.
Yeah.
With him, is he throws a lot better than most people realize. So when I kind of look at the full picture, okay, I can work this guy with some of these underneath routes. I can run these quick breaking routes. I can work him into the intermediate field. And if he's going to win down the field, if I can set him up in that situation, maybe I've got a deep crosser, maybe I've got him on a go. He can track the deep ball. He is capable, and that's the key word here. And
yeah,
people were kind of, they're questioning some of the things with some of my scouting notes. And I had to say, hey, look, when I say capable, that means he's okay. I don't necessarily want him to do it, but he can do it. There's a difference between being good or solid and capable. Okay.
Yeah.
Like those are the words mean things here, but so he's capable through contact, and that's the key word. I think, I like him. I think obviously I could be very wrong. Wide receivers is a position that, I missed on Justin Jefferson. I thought he wasn't as good as he was. So I can't sit here and tell you that I'm the wide receiver expert, but I like Denzel a lot.
Yeah. Listen, for me, he's a wide receiver 7, so he's not that far off. He's not like down at the bottom of the board. But I got like I said, I got a mid to late, day 2 grade on him, end of the second, early third, and which is fine. Like I said, that's where I think this class, the meat and potatoes of this class is really going to fall. And it's going to be upon what team, what's going to be the situation that they fall in and how they're coached and developed to see if they can really rise to the occasion. So, Bill.
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and take on, you want to take on Jordan Tyson? You're number 2. My number 2 as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the big thing when we look at Jordan Tyson is this is a guy who just can separate pretty well, both physically and in an explosive manner. Just puts the defensive back in a blender to keep it short and sweet. But he really works best on the intermediate parts of the field when I'm looking at 10 to 20 yard routes, or where he has to use his leverage and can kind of manipulate defenders with either pace variations, so either tempo changes in his route or subtle head fakes. Very good hands in traffic. This is a guy that, he's going to fight through contact, and he runs like a freight train, just very angry after the catch. Like he wants to hurt someone. And, you see it when he's got the ball in his hands. The biggest thing for me and why he's not my wide receiver 1 is his medical history frightens the daylights out of me. You've got collarbone injuries, you've got hamstring, you've got soft tissue issues. This is a guy that you are going to circle in late February at the combine and listen for medical rechecks for him. Because if his medicals check out, this is a guy that you could put at the top of the wide receiver board in the class. But if it doesn't, you could see him plummet all the way out of the first round because of how scary it is. So that's my biggest thing on Tyson is that he is a very talented receiver, but the health concerns me because for me, the best ability any player can have is availability. And if you're not available, you don't help me as a team.
Yeah. So with Jordan Tyson, I think he is the one receiver in this class who 3 or 4 years down the road we can look back and say that he was like, I think he has the chance to be the alpha of this class. He has the chance to be the Justin Jefferson, the Jamar Chase of this draft class. The other guys, even though, like I said, I have Carnell Tate, with a top 10 grade. I don't have Jordan Tyson that high. He's got a first round grade, not a top 10 grade. I think he has the chance to be, you can look back in a couple years, and if he does stay healthy, that he has, he's at the upper echelon of receivers in the league. I just think he's so versatile. I don't know. Everyone's got their own thing when they're watching receivers. And I'll tell you, for me, I watch, obviously their hands are very important since they catch the ball, but the way they run their routes, their release packages, the separation that they can create, that stuff really just like kind of catches my eye. And I think there's times on film where Jordan Tyson is leaps and bounds better at all three of those aspects than anybody else in this class. So, yeah, John,
I agree with you.
Yeah. You want anything on Tyson? Anything that we missed?
I mean, I think Deebo Samuel. That's the type of player that you're getting. Where you talk about, I thought Bill made a great point about the really catches well through traffic. He's a home run threat on any given play.
Yeah,
but I think he's not an X. He's going to be a Z. He's going to need a complimentary guy on the outside to kind of open him up, to get him open. And he's got that strong run after the catch ability. And I think Deebo Samuel, young Deebo Samuel, when I look at this guy, I think that's the type of player that he is.
Well, you touched on a little bit on Zachariah Branch earlier, John. Chris Bell, man. It's a shame we won't be able to see him during this All-Star cycle. Yeah. Talk to me about Chris Bell.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He's still my top 5 receiver, but obviously as we work our way through this cycle, he's going to probably slide down because of that health. But I mean, this is a guy, you look at the size, estimated 6'4", 220, but just has a frame willing to punish people, but then also has a speed to go with that. That's probably going to be 4.4 or even sub 4.4 at this point. Just a true size speed combination, and just has this ability to track the deep ball just so well, just a natural feel of tracking the deep ball. And then once he catches it, he just transforms into a running back and just eliminates any pursuit angles that you have and just is willing to hit people. And I love the way that he stacks corners, especially in press man. So if he's given a free run, he's gone. It's to the house.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is his route tree is just a little limited compared to some other wide receivers in this class. Most of his stuff is just on the vertical shot and working on the vertical plane downfield because he's got the speed for it. So I'd love to see him kind of develop his route tree, because a lot of times he just gets stuck in the intermediate part of the field when he gets bumped off of his routes, and it turns a crosser almost into a post, or it turns a crosser almost to an outbreaker. Yeah. And that's concerning. But if he were healthy, he's top 5 receiver because he's just got the size speed combination to be a home run hitter in this draft.
Yeah, he's DK Metcalf for me. That's kind of like that persona. I mean, when you think about like the size, speed, freakish nature of him, I think he's he's probably even I don't know if anybody. I don't know if I'm able to say that about Chris Bell yet. I was going to give him a super good compliment. I'm not there yet, but I like what you said. Like, if he can get over the top of you on press man, like, watch out. get the ball in his hands, and he's good. He's strong. He's like, it looks like he's, like super, super thick, not fat, but thick in all the right spots. You know what I mean?
Yes.
He's got those huge tree trunk legs. He can get them moving. But even for a big guy like that, he's pushing 230. The way he accelerates, and then he can stop and go, man. Oh, it's a shame that he blew his knee out. I think he was destined. I think he was absolutely destined to land in the first round, in that middle of the 1st round. Hell, there might even be a team, maybe your Browns, Bill, that have multiple first-round picks that take him and redshirt him for a year. So, it happened with oh my God, who did it happen with? It happened with Jameson Williams, right? Jameson Williams tore his ACL. He still got drafted in the first round.
Yep.
So it's not out of the question. I think Jameson was a little bit more nuanced of a receiver than Chris Bell is. Chris Bell's right now much more athlete than he is receiver. That's the way I look at it. So, John, Chris Bell, thoughts?
Every single game this guy that you put on in Louisville, this guy pops immediately. And I think that was kind of the approach I took to scouting this year. It's a little bit different than I've done any other year.
Okay.
And that's because the focus changed. But I used to go into a game with a list of players. Now it's like, speak to me. Speak to me. Just talk to me. And Chris Bell talks every single time we put the tape on. He's there. And so I think that's a very important thing. So when I get through with a game and I go back and I look through, every game that I watched with Louisville this year, and I've got, 3-4 long sentences on the guy every single time. That's consistency. And I think that's one of the things that's helped me, look through this process and kind of hit on a lot of, figure out who the best players really are. His first off, you got the excuse me, I'm trying to collect my thoughts now. I've got like 3 of them going. The NFS, measured in the spring, 6'1.5", 227 verified. Okay, so phenomenal size. You're talking about he's pushing 230. You are right on. Phenomenal size. I thought that he works the sideline really well. He's got great body control. The one thing that I do question is that I think that he struggles to extend outside his frame to secure catches. And that would be the one little knock that I would say, you kind of have to throw him a good ball, but if you can throw him the good ball, he is going to be absolutely gone. He sounds like Kansas City Chief to me.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, listen, the Chiefs, it wouldn't surprise me if they remake the entire room, like, and try to build. Well, actually, I mean, I shouldn't say that because I forgot they got Rashi back there. Yeah, but Rashi playing that big or that power slot, and you have Chris on the outside, and Xavier playing the Z. I think that'd be a healthy trio there to defend.
And you wouldn't even have to play him right. You got Tyquan Thornton, to hold down the fort until Chris is ready to go. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'm just saying he screams Kansas City Chiefs.
I'd also say Philadelphia as well is just an eventual AJ Brown replacement down the line.
Yeah, he would be there too. And that may be coming sooner than a lot of people realize.
Yeah, well, it's either gonna be AJ Brown or Hurts. So which one's more easy to take in the pocket for Howie, I guess, right?
Right.
So I want to touch on one guy that I have on my list that you guys don't, and I'm curious to see what you guys think about Jeremy Bernard. But you talk about watching a guy, John. You talked about what your approach this year to scouting is just like when you turn on a game and somebody speaks to you. That's what I got every time I watched Alabama. At least in their pass game this year, like Jeremy Bernard for me just stood out. Like the stuff that he can do. First off, I love the frame for a guy because I love that inside-outside versatility that I think he can have. Like he's not when I say frame here, he's no Denzel Boston, he's no Chris Bell, but he'll be 6'1". He'll probably push somewhere between 205, 210 pounds. Definitely big enough. I love guys that aren't that can have that slot and Z kind of flexibility. The stuff that he does, the vision that he has with the ball in his hand after the catch is, to pick up the yards. I absolutely love it. I love his football IQ. Like I said, the things that I'm drawn to, I think really, really, he displays very well. Super, super reliable hands, strong, secures the ball through the catch point, in traffic, outside of traffic, doesn't matter. But the route running nuance and the ability to create separation on his own without any help, not even forced through motion or anything like that. The way that he kind of makes himself skinny and utilizes his body, manipulates his body to get into places and do things to set off the defenders off, get the defenders off balance. I think he's just really, really good. There's not a lot that I disliked in his game. You can say, I don't know if he's going to be a burner. I don't know if he's got that third gear, but I think he'll comfortably be in the 4.4s, which I think is going to be more than enough for Jeremy Bernard. To me, like I said, he was, he's got a first round. Well, I shouldn't say that. He's got a second round grade on me, but he's a guy that I think could sneak into the first round and really be one of those guys who we're looking at, a couple years back from now and saying, wow, 28 teams passed on him. I can't believe it. So I'll shoot it off to either one of you guys. Tell me what you think about Jeremy Bernard, why I'm too high on him or why you're not high enough.
I'll say, John, you can go first if you want.
So I agree. There's not a lot to dislike. I just don't see a lot that's elite. That's very high level. It's a very consistent skill set.
Yeah.
Which, he's right there. For me, if that list continued to extend, he'd be at 7. I'd have KC at 6. Now, one of the things that some of those run blocking teams are going to like are, the heavy run teams is he is a good run blocker on the boundary too.
Yeah.
So he's going to be a specific flavor for specific types of teams. Now, this guy was also the highest graded wide receiver this year coming into the year on NFS, so scouts were all over this guy during the off season. He came in at a verified 6 foot 6'8", 209. So, I'm thinking he might have played a little bit lighter than that this year, but again, he hits a lot of great points where he's good, he's solid in these positions, but there's nothing in his skill set to me that screams elite. And that's kind of where my pause comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, I can get with that. Like solid B plus student, but sometimes, sometimes those I would take a team full of solid B's and B plus students, right? At least that's the way I look at it. So Bill,
I got a story we can get into when Bill gets through this about that.
Yeah. No, John hit the nail on the head. It's just not, it doesn't scream elite profile to me. Like, even though he's got that 209-pound frame, just feels like more physical press corners and handsy corners kind of bounce him off his routes very easy. His yards after the catch ability just seems like it relies more on his crafty ability rather than an explosive trait. So it's just not like anything like flash in the pan. Like, and John talked about it when he watched Chris Bell. You wait for him to pop off the screen. There were times this year where I waited for Jeremy Bernard to pop, and it never came. There were games like the Auburn game.
The last 2 games, the Auburn, yeah,
the Auburn game, the Oklahoma game, even the LSU game. Like, I waited for it, and it never showed up. And that's my concern is I'm fine with taking that type of receiver. I have him 80th on my board right now, and I'm okay with taking that somewhere at the tail end of round 2, start of round 3. But he just doesn't have the flash in the pan that I look for.
That's fair. Fair enough. John, why don't you hit me with one of these guys that's that maybe is off the radar, that not everyone is kind of keen to. I know you're gonna reach into the depths of the FCS. I know, and drag out this obsolete guy from Montana State. I know it, but
no, we're not going that far. We're gonna keep it kind of relevant to the top 10, and Elijah Surratt.
Okay,
that's a guy that not a lot of people. Yeah, not a lot of people are talking about this guy now. He's been at 3 schools. Indiana's his 3rd school. He was at I forget where he was before James Madison, but he was at a school before James Madison. Transferred over, last year with Signetti to Indiana. And he plays a lot bigger than he actually is. He's another one of these, again, 6'1", 6'8", 206. Plays bigger than that. Plays like he's an X.
St. Francis.
Thank you. New York. That was what it was. Whose program, by the way, is going down to a Division III after this year.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, St. Francis. But very physical runner after the catch. He's got big playability. He could track the deep ball well, and I thought he was a solid athlete. He, a lot like Bernard, is one of these guys that's very solid across the board. Very solid skill set. Nothing that necessarily pops out as elite, but just a very capable player in everything that he does.
Yeah. A lot of Allen Robinson in his game for me.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one. I like that. That's a good one.
But what about you? Who's your guy?
So my guy is a guy that just accepted an invite to the Senior Bowl, and I think he's going to get a lot of shine there. It's Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. I mean, after spending 4 years at Virginia, transferring to Notre Dame this year, taking that step up in competition, this is a guy that has that size of Denzel Boston that we talked about, estimated 6'4", 220, but also has enough functional athleticism to be able to separate. Like, this isn't just a big body, that can't move. He can move very well, but he's probably one of the best contested catch receivers who just goes and climbs the ladder and attacks that ball at its highest point. And he shows just this understanding of leverage, both in contested catch situations and in zone coverage, because he's a former quarterback. So this is a guy that converted from quarterback to receiver. And you see that IQ all over his tape. Now, the big thing, obviously, when you look at him is he just doesn't have that acceleration off the line. It's the Keon Coleman conversation we have all over again. He just doesn't have that juice to go off the line. Yeah. But I'm waiting for the one-on-one reps down in Mobile where he just climbs the ladder on some poor corner. I would love to see him and Chris Johnson one-on-one and just watch those two go at it, hand fight each other all the way down the line. But I think he's going to open up some eyes down in Mobile this year.
Yeah. My guy that not enough people are talking about, I don't think, and you guys, I'm sure, are very familiar with, out of little old UConn, Skylar Bell.
Yeah.
I mean, just a flat out good receiver. Listen, he's going to be small. He's going to be way undersized. Definitely some physical limitations are going to be had. If he measures out at 5'10", 190, I would be, I think that's a win for him. But there's no denying that even a guy who's, doesn't have the largest frame, what he does situationally with contested catch, the consistency that he catches with, his ability to run routes. I mean, 100 plus receptions. I don't even know how many yards this year. Just a guy who's a ball player. We talked about that. Like, this is a guy that's going to change the game one way or another. He's going to be small. He's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. He reminds me a lot, and I totally expect him. And I'm a fan. I'm a fan of his. I expect for him to have a really good Senior Bowl week. I expect him to kind of turn heads, similar to who was, guys, help me out here. When Quinyon Mitchell was down there, was it Roman Wilson? Right? That was the Roman Wilson.
That was Roman Wilson.
So. Yeah. And their games, I think, he's a little bit smaller than Roman was. And Roman, I thought, had some more, had some more abilities to stretch vertically or play the boundary a little bit more. But I mean, the way he moved Roman Wilson down there in Mobile and the flash that he played with, I think Skylar Bell's going to do exactly the same things down in Mobile. I can't wait to see him live. I cannot wait to see
Let me
him
help your hype train here a little bit.
Okay.
5'11" verified, even 186.
How about that?
Ooh.
How about that?
Mhm. Yeah.
And just a catching machine, just a yak, to get the ball in his hands. I mean, he plays for UConn. Give it what it is. They're
Yeah, but where was he before that? It was Wisconsin.
He was in Wisconsin.
He was in Wisconsin, yeah.
Yep. So he's played big ball. He was a good receiver at Wisconsin too. And
Wisconsin just doesn't throw the ball. Receivers at Wisconsin.
Yeah, and especially when he left, he left right as Fink was getting there as well.
Yeah.
He hit the portal. He goes over there. Jim Mora, helps build that back. Joe Fagana this year, phenomenal for UConn.
Yeah.
And he was a big part of that. It was Skylar Bell, being that safety blanket over the middle, underneath, going deep. It didn't matter. He was doing it all. And he's another one of those guys that I don't care. You name the UConn game, turn it on. He's gonna be speaking to you.
Yeah, he's gonna flash. So
yeah, 9 games this year where he received double-digit targets. They often say, build the offense around, either West Coast or anything like that. It was build the offense around Skylar Bell. Skylar Bell was the plane at UConn.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, the Senior Bowl is going to be a good platform for him to really step up and play, line up against the best. And I think his skill set's going to shine. What he brings to the table is going to really flash there. So I think this is just the beginning for those who haven't seen or don't know a bunch about Skylar Bell, because I think over the next month or so, a lot of people are going to get to know him really, really well. Listen, do I think is he a first round talent? He's not, but he's a guy that, when you get into those, those early, late day 2, early day 3, like he's a guy that I think you can bring in and will, can affect the football game one way or another right off the get-go. I thought the same. I don't do the NFL comp game as good as Bill Sparks here, who's the pro. But I thought, like I said, Roman Wilson. I thought Jamari Thrash is another guy that I thought had, from Louisville a couple years back that had that kind of same skill set. And I just realized when I was doing some research on Bell, I didn't even realize Jamari Thrash is not on an NFL team anymore.
Yeah.
He got cut.
He did get re-signed as of today. It was one of those on the practice squad. It was one of those kind of maneuver around the team sort of situation for Cleveland. But my comp for Skylar Bell, just to put more on the hype train, Jaden Reed from the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, okay. I can see.
Yeah, but I don't know if he's going to have the same breakaway speed that Reed has. But Reed was listen. I remember you guys do too. If you were, I know John was there. I think you were there as well, Bill. But when Jaden Reed blew up in Mobile, he blew up Mobile. I mean, probably one of the better receivers that I've seen down there in terms of bringing his game from kind of, the abyss up to, hey, we got to watch this guy. Puka did the same thing, right? Puka practiced for a couple of days and said, screw this, I'm out of here.
Yep.
So, hey guys, listen, we are pushing the end of the hour. I could sit here and chop it up and talk ball with you guys all day long. I really can. But we got to do some other stuff. So please do me a favor. Tell these fine fellows and ladies who are watching or listening to this podcast where they can find you. We'll start with you, Bill.
Yes, you can find all of my content over on X at Sparks Scouting. Also a writer and analyst for the Wrightway Sports Network. It's twsn.net, covering the NFL draft as well as the NFL, as well as also an analyst for the Barking Browns, which you can find over on X as well at Barking Browns 24 and the Barking Browns on TikTok as well. But all of that content is linked to on X right there at Sparks Scouting.
Great. And John, what about yourself, my friend?
The Sick Podcast, Draft Digest with Emily Van Buskirk. And then pretty much anything that is going to get up is going to go on X at Draft Vogel, where you can get access to my guide and everything else that you can see about football. So
yeah, and I'm gonna give you a little shameless plug too, because guys, people have guides, and everyone, there's a lot of people who put some stuff out there. John's is probably as in depth and thorough of one as I've ever seen. I look at John's.
I'll have to send you some of the stuff that we got coming January 2nd. It's extensive. Sometimes I'm not trying to steal the spotlight or anything. My bad.
No.
Sorry.
Steal away.
Sometimes I wonder if I'm a little too ambitious for my own good.
Yeah.
There's a lot in here. Okay. So,
well, I have 34 graded receivers right now. John probably has 34 slot receivers alone.
Yeah. And they're in Division 2.
In depth graded. Yeah, exactly. From northern Montana State, so on and so forth. So, but guys, all their info for Bill and John will be in the link below. Give them a follow if you want good information. If their DMs are always open. And I'm not trying to speak for you, but I'm just telling the truth. Their DMs are always open. You shoot them a question or something like that, they're always quick to respond. Just really, really good, knowledgeable football guys that I'm happy to lean on and call friends. So this was a really, really fun, quick episode, guys. Let's do it again before April. What do you say? Another position, another thing like that. You good for that, ladies and gentlemen?
You better be edge rushers. I'm just saying.
Okay, we can do that.
That is my crap right there.
Well, listen, I know that my edge group is going to look a lot different than anybody else's, because I'm looking at these guys and I'm like, oh, Nelly.
It's DPR City.
Exactly. It's either 5 techs or DPR cities. That's exactly what I got from these guys. So, but that's for another episode. For right now, guys, it's the wide receivers. If you haven't done so, folks, please like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Follow Project Prospect at Dom C on YouTube. Do all that stuff so this algorithm starts to like me, and this content and podcasts like this will get out to more of the masses. This was episode 2. Look forward to episode 3, and until then, guys, we will see you later.